Hi, today I'm going to do the look that I did on Cheryl Cole for the cover of Elle magazine. And I put this picture and all the other pictures that were in the magazine on my blog, and loads of people asked me to do a look inspired by that. So that's what I'm going to do today. Now, the look for me, because the styling, I absolutely love the styling. It was quite casual in a way, because lots of leather jackets, really cool, a little bit edgy. So I decided to do this very lived in smoky eye, so not a perfect smoky eye, but something that was a little bit more rock and roll. Sometimes it was quite greasy, sometimes it was quite winged. It was sort of different in different shots, but it was definitely not a kind of perfect face. I started with a really light base. I've already done my base. I've used Vitalumiere in number 20. And Cheryl's got amazing skin anyway, so hardly need any foundation. But I really didn't want to create that very airbrushed looking skin. So it was more about having very real looking skin and then this quite lived in smoky eye and the pale lips. So I've got the base on, but I haven't done any concealing yet. So I'm going to do that all later, and all the highlighting and everything. I'm going to go right into the eyes. Now I thought what I'd use to create the smoky eye today is Blackground by MAC Paint Pot. Simply because when I did some of my all-time favourite videos, and I said that I love using these paint pots to do smoky eyes, loads and loads of people asked me if I would show how I use them to do smoky eyes. So I thought it's a good opportunity, do it today and kill two birds with one stone. So I'm going to use a MAC 217 and just get a little bit on the brush, and then just apply the colour all over the lid. And coming into the socket line and just blending it from there. So I'm just bringing it up higher towards the socket line at the outer edges. I'm not going to create the shape exactly yet until all the lashes and everything are on, because then I can see exactly where I need to take it to. But I think these are great to use on their own, by the way, just as a smoky eye. Just do it a little bit softer, go all underneath as well, and you can really do a 1 minute smoky eye with a paint pot. Okay, so next I'm going to use Blacktrack Fluid Line by MAC, and I'm going to use that all along the waterline, quite a lot of it, and then along the lash line, quite a thick line. All along the top, and then before it dries, use a slightly larger blending brush just to really blend into the roots of the lashes, because I don't really want a perfect line. It kind of more smudged in. Now same underneath, using the black again. A few dots along there. And then really smudge that into the lash line. So it's just quite messy underneath. Okay, next I'm going to use some eyeshadow. This is 179 by L'Oreal, and it's kind of a goldy, browny, greyish gold, I'd say. I'm just going to pat it on over the top, just to create another dimension, really. And then just blend it in. It just gives a little bit of life and another layer, just makes it a little bit more three-dimensional. You do the same thing underneath as well. Just smudge a bit and just use it as well to just blend the edges again. So on to eyebrows. Now I gave Cheryl a really dark eyebrow, but not kind of too hard as well. So I'm going to use, I think the best thing for this is the Suqqu felt tip liner. I'm going to use number 1. Normally use number 2. They say on the website actually this is called green, but I think that's something that's a bit lost in translation, because it's actually one of those shades that's fantastic for people with black hair that don't want to use a black eyebrow product, which I recommend not doing, by the way. And it's a kind of browny, grey, black, green mixture, which sounds awful, but it's brilliant for, as I say, looking sort of natural, but also blending in with very dark hair. And what's good about it is I'm just going to do lots and lots of small strokes. So then I'm going to do quite an intense and dark brow. It's not going to end up looking really, really solid and hard. So just filling in all those gaps and creating a really good high arc. This is a really good product if you don't have any brows at all and you want to create lots of little fake hairs, because it's also waterproof. There you go, just a really nice strong brow, but without looking as if it's just one big drawn on line. So eyebrows are on, so I'm going to go back to the skin now and sort my skin out. So I'm going to use the Light Reflect, this new one from Makeup Forever Uplight, which I just used the other day for the first time, and I know I always use Becca, and I do love the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector, has to be said. But this one is really lovely as well. This colour, which I think is number 12, is quite a good colour for my skin. So I'm going to use it in the normal place. But because this is going to be quite a contoured look, I'm also going to use it in a sort of triangle here, so on the front of the cheek as well. Normally I just use it around the side, but the blush and everything is going to go quite low, and just to balance that out, or rather as a good counterpoint for that, I'm going to bring it into a kind of triangle-y shape as well at the front. I'm just going to use a smaller brush just to blend that in. I haven't done any concealing yet, so I'll make sure that's all really well blended. The only way you can really do this is if it's totally well blended in with everything else, otherwise it'll look very odd. So for concealer, I'm going to use the Vichy Dermablend stick. It's not quite as much coverage as the foundation, but if you're just looking to even your skin out a little bit, it's great, because it really covers any light pigmentation or little spots. And this is number 11, Porcelain. I'm just going to use it around my chin a little bit. And also just to cover any individual little marks and spots. So just to finish the skin, I'm going to use some loose powder. Just a light coverage, but I'm going to come onto the cheeks because I'm going to be using a powder contour and also a powder blush, so I want it to go on really smoothly, but just not too much, really light. And also you'll notice it doesn't really dampen down the highlighter anyway. That's still shining through. Back to the eyes, I'm going to use some eyelash curlers and really give a good curl, because I'm going to be putting on some fake lashes. And then I'm going to use Volume Million Lashes by L'Oreal in black. Just going to get, although I'm putting lashes on, I want lots of darkness underneath, so really tons at the roots. So loads of mascara on top and bottom, and next I'm going to put some lashes on. I'm going to use Demi Pixies, which I love these lashes, by Ardell. So the lashes are on. Just while they're drying, I'm going to do a little bit of contouring. The look I did on Cheryl was very contoured. I am going to use this one, which is Terracotta by Guerlain, 4 Seasons. These are good because there's one for each sort of colouring. I'm using number 2, which is brunettes. I'll take most of it off on the back of my hand, and then just start to sculpt. If you need help, more help with the sculpting and choosing the right shade, have a look at the contouring, powder contouring film that I made a while ago, because there's quite a few tips in that. So just following the natural contours of the face. I'm actually thinner on this side than I am on this side for some reason. Just a bit wonky, so I don't need as much. And same the other side. and better to start with a little bit and build up than start with too much. So just shading in, you can feel the natural hollows, and taking it up a little bit onto the temple as well. Okay, so next the blush, and on Cheryl I use this blusher by L'Oreal which is called Bois de Rose, Rosewood. And in the same way that I used the contour, I didn't use it as a kind of rosy blush here. I used it more just at the edge of the contour, just on top, so it sort of just peeks out. So you can just sort of see it a little bit from the front. So it's following the same shape, but just peeping out onto the cheeks a little bit. But definitely not a kind of rosy apple thing. I think that wouldn't be very cool with this look. So that's the blush. Now for the lips, it's quite a pale lip. If you, it wasn't a very glossy lip or a creamy lipsticky lip. So if you need to, use plenty of lip balm and a little Q-tip just to get any dry bits of skin off. I did that earlier, so my lips feel quite moisturised. If you've got quite red lips naturally, just use a tiny bit of the concealer that you used. So I'm going back to the Vichy. Take most of it off though, so just a little tiny bit left on. And the secret is really that you want hardly any product at all. So it just ends up taking the colour down a fraction. Then if you need to, you can use a lip pencil, any kind of nudie shade. But again, you don't want it to look like a pencil, so just really rub it in with a bit of concealer. Just kind of get your definition and then pat it again. Now you can just leave it like that with the concealer on, a little bit of pencil and smudged in. If you need to add a little bit of light, because sometimes that can be quite draining. Cheryl's got really gorgeous honey toned skin, so I felt just a little bit of colour would work really well. And I would also actually prefer it with a little bit of colour. Depending on your skin tone though, just choose a colour that's good for you. I'm going to use this sort of pinky shade here, which is by Chantecaille, and it's Petunia. But again, very little, because I want the texture of the lip skin to show through. So back to the eyes, and I used Mixing Medium by MAC, the shiny one. They do shine and matte. And I mainly used it sort of underneath in the inner corner, just to add some shine there. And also, after a while, this starts to make the makeup look very lived in. I just used it close to the lashes, and this wasn't really on every shot, but I think on the cover, she has got a little bit of grease there. And then you can always blend it in if you need to. Just sort of smudge it in. So it just gives more of a... And really, it starts to take effect after a while. You start to notice it becoming very lived in. So that's more or less it. As I say, I changed it for different looks in the magazine. So for the cover, for example, it was more greasy. I think on the lid, close to the lashes, and a little bit underneath, which gave it more of a lived-in feel. If you hate creasing, by the way, don't use the grease, because it does start to crease. I quite like that look. I think it looks quite cool. But if you can't bear it, then just give it a miss and stick with the other textures, the fluid line, the paint pot and the powder. But I just kept changing. Sometimes it was more powder on, other times it was more winged. And yeah, just kind of a careless smoky eye, really, quite a messy one. I thought she looked beautiful. She is beautiful anyway, and I really enjoyed the job. So I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you soon.